Okay, hello guys. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. It's been a while. I think this is episode 4 or 5, if I'm not wrong. I never really keep track. There's also a little bit of lag on my webcam here, which I can't really solve. I think it's inherent in the webcam. So, welcome back, Coach Neil, from a long trip to Hong Kong, which is why we was not able to do our podcast for such a long time. Yeah, how was your trip?
It was good, man. It was good. It was good. I even had a chance to bowl in the Hong Kong bowling alley and
Hmm.
had a chance to talk to the pro shops and a couple other bowlers there. Yeah.
Yeah, so a chance to network also. So Hong Kong is like a second home lah, in a way, because you're like half of your family is there.
My wife's
Mm.
family and then my friends, my clients, my work, everything is there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like second home, Singapore first, Hong Kong second. Okay, so
Yeah.
today we'll keep it short. So let's go straight into our topic. So today I wanted to talk a bit about your views on like learning curves of like one-handed or compared to two-handed. Let's say we
Yeah.
talk about a student that comes in, it could be young, could be old, doesn't matter, but like quite fresh to bowling, right? So doesn't have a lot of fundamentals and so on. Then the like which style do you think is like in a way easier to pick up?
For so far, okay, based on what I have been coaching wise, I normally will talk to the kids, see what they want. So if they and like probably what they feel it's nicer. So as a little kid, they will something that's cool or something that is a bit more powerful or faster. Certain items will attract them more. So by understanding what they want, then you can actually decide or help them decide what style suits them. So from there, most of the time they will start off with one-hander. Then as we go on, so some of the kids, those that manage to rev up the ball to hook it up well, then they will stick on. But those that finds it a bit harder to hold on to the ball, then and to do the cup and cup break release action and stuff like that, then they will most likely step down into the two-handed, and that will help them improve their rev rate and stuff, which give us quite good results for a beginner or a, any kids or actually I would say any bowlers that find themselves having issues revving up the ball, they can switch up into a two-handed. Then once they feel good or they feel so much stronger from there, they can still go back into the one-handed.
Yeah, but some of them might stay two-handed lah.
Yeah,
It's their
yeah,
personal
definitely.
choice lah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
For
so
for
that's what I have been helping out, and it's been getting good results. Some of the kids they really just decided, okay, I'm staying in two-handed from there.
okay. For me, I feel like because some of my students already come to me to learn two-handed. Then there are some which
Yeah.
are adults which don't really have a preference. They say, that,
Mm,
"Oh, I can learn either. Which do you think is fine?" Then I don't really have a solid opinion because both has its pros and cons. But
yeah.
then some of the adults they will try one-handed and then they would like, stay with one-handed. But for me, I find that maybe because of my past experience and so on, or maybe just the style itself. Two-handed is easier to get the bowler to learn the basics of rolling and hooking the ball a lot faster as compared to one-handed. For one-handed bowlers is yeah, it's easy to get them to get the fundamentals right, but to get them to maybe it's my teaching is not that good yet because then to get them to roll the ball one-handed is a lot more of a bigger challenge as compared to getting the two-handers to roll the ball. So I find that the learning curve for two-handed is a little bit easier in the beginning, getting the to roll the ball and so on. But once I can get them to roll the ball right for my students, then the problem comes whereby they have to hit the target, like they have to hit the pocket consistently and so on. Then the two-hander one it comes into a like sort of like a
That's
bottleneck,
cool.
a plateau
Yeah.
or a bottleneck, so to say. That's where the difficulty of like trying to get them to like relax, to be consistent with the release and so on. Then that is where the two-handed difficulty spike comes in.
Yeah. I realized that also. So for those newer bowlers that if we start them off being a two-hander, then we most of the time we have issues trying to get them to aim to get the ball on target. So what happens is so that's why I try as much as possible get them to a one step a one-hander, and that also actually helps them to increase the ball speed. by playing a one-hander, because one-handers, our ball speed is slightly higher. So they manage to get the ball straighter, longer down the lane, then it starts to hook up. Then after that, we start to see, okay, hey, you can do it a bit more hook. You need more hook. You need stuff like that. Da, da, da. Then that's where we introduce them, get them, hey, now it's time for you to try out two-handers, this and that. And I realized with that it helps them. So, but one good thing that I've been helping my newer two-handers to do, right, is get them to throw the ball straight. To start off during the training, the first ball is always a pure six straight up release. And slowly you start to increase the amount of hook until the maximum hook, where I want to see the ball goes to hook the entire lane, left all the way to the right, and miss the pin 7, gutters the shot.
Okay. So there's a
So it
drill where
helps.
you just ask them to try
Yeah,
and roll the ball straight
yeah,
as possible in the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah. So you find that also helps them to like hit the target a lot more, lah, because
Yeah,
they're
because
rolling
even
the ball straight.
ourselves, we also do practice one-handed and two-handed. So that's something good.
Okay, yeah, that's maybe something I can consider also. Yeah, also I've been struggling to teach my students also how to roll the ball straight two-handed, especially for their spare
Oh,
shot. Yeah, but
okay.
for me, I mean, personally, I've learned how to do it. It's just by delaying the shot a little bit more and then just releasing it slightly later so that my hand is naturally behind the ball when I release. Yeah, so those are maybe I can think of developing some drills to teach the students that too. So,
Mm.
so generally, in your view, is that there's no one method that's easier, but yeah, lah, both will come into certain struggles or certain bottleneck at certain
Yeah,
period of time. For one
definitely.
hander, what's the bottleneck? Is it just learning how to like create rotation on the ball?
The rotation is definitely one. The wrist power is definitely another thing. So I would say to start off, if you want to see the ball hook up a lot more, definitely two-hander will look nice. Will be the faster way. Then but they will because it's slightly easier to pick up, but you see a lot of people lacking the rotation of the torso, this and that. So then slowly we start to get that bottleneck, which also comes with the targeting issues. So from there, then that's where the one-handers has that slight advantage over it. But at the same time, one-handers we really lack a lot of on rev. You still see a lot of one-handers that are revving like 200 RPM. 200 is oh my god. You can just do two-handers and just anyhow you also hit 200. So
Mm.
that's one key thing that the revs really gives you that extra the spare miss room. That's something
The strike miss
key.
room, lah, yes, a wider
Yeah,
room for error when you throw strike shots.
yeah,
Mm. Yeah, so both has its pros and cons. It's like
yeah.
two-hander easier to pick up the rotation, but harder to hit the target. Then for
Yeah,
one-handers, easier to hit the target but harder
look at that.
to get
Yeah,
the
the
rotation
power
up. Yeah, so
revolution.
both has its own struggles. Both has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit about that. Next up, maybe we can start talking about the upcoming tournaments because I also wanted to
Oh,
touch on like Singapore Open,
yeah,
but I think the upcoming one, which a lot of people actually don't know, would be the Sarawak Open.
yeah,
Personally, I also didn't know about it until you told me about it a few weeks
mm,
ago.
yeah.
So I've never participated in the Sarawak Open before. How about you yourself? Have you bowled in it?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet. Oh, okay.
yeah.
But I also never been to Sarawak.
Ah,
Sarawak.
okay.
Wait.
It's a very nice
Sarawak.
place.
Oh, I think I have. I think I have. When I was like in secondary school, those overseas school trips.
Yeah,
Then because you have to take the plane, right? Sarawak is like south of Singapore, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Sarawak is south
Oh,
of Singapore compared to like the normal Malaysia, like Kuala Lumpur that we go, we just take bus up. But Sarawak, you have to take a plane and fly. It's actually south. They call it like, is it West Malaysia? East Malaysia, West. I'm not too sure. They call it West or East Malaysia, but basically it's south of Singapore, so it's away like an ocean away from us.
yeah, nearer to Kuching.
Yeah. I've been to Kuching when I
Yeah.
was a secondary school kid, so for a geography trip. That was a long ago. Like
Yeah,
30 good 30.
30.
Yeah,
I
almost
think
30 years ago
the
for me.
numbers will not come out.
Almost 30 years ago for me,
Mm.
20 plus. So yeah, can't remember much of it already. So
Yeah.
yeah, so Sarawak Open. But anyway, looking at like I haven't really read the rules and regulations. Do they allow sending of ball in between
Not
frames? Sorry, in between games.
not too sure about that yet though, but
I can
like
read on it
so
in
because
the school.
so I don't really care too much about that because end of the day we prep the balls before and get the ball ready. So then you also need to be training on the transition stuff like that without with and without surfacing the ball. So
Okay.
whatever the case comes, you just got to read the transition early. That's why you always have a spotter. As much as a lot of people they think it's okay. No, bowling is just an individual game. But the thing is, because of the lane shifts and stuff like that, so you need to have someone's, if possible, where there is more than enough helper. I would really suggest that you have someone helping you to spot the lanes after. So like, okay, I'm going to move to lane 3 and 4, for example. Then they will spot for you, okay, who was bowling before and who was, and so on and so forth. So okay, that lane would have been burned up in a particular direction. Then
Yeah.
you know, okay, which ball to bring out instead of going there, throwing a strong A seam, and then you start to see the ball, boom, miss. Then you get
Yeah.
a big fall on the first frame.
Yeah, yeah, correct. I think this is something that I also didn't realize until like recently, last few months back, that actually the how important like the ball reps are for the like PBA pros. Basically, the
Yeah,
ball reps are not just a coach; they are basically also to act like you mentioned a spotter. They are
yeah,
another pair of eyes that help you to scout out for information. Because as a bowler, you just want to focus on your own current game at the current at that exact time. You want to try your best to focus on the game. Then you don't have you really can't spare the time or the attention to like go run like halfway down the bowling alley, right, to try and spend like a few minutes trying to spot what the opponent is doing, because then you'll be slow bowling on your own lane, which is offense. So you cannot be slow bowling, you have to continuously bowl. So you just
mm-hmm.
cannot physically separate yourself to see what is happening on your next pair of lanes that you're going to transition to. So
Yeah,
your coaches, your assistant coaches, or so-called your ball reps, or even your friends and family, I think it's like if you have like a friend that's behind there, you can ask your friend, hey, can you help me to spot like I'm going next to lane 10. Just help me to spot what kind of lines they're playing and what kind of balls they're using. Even if you're like your mom or dad, your relative or a friend doesn't know much about bowling, right? They can at least give you some simple information, then they can help you out as a spotter. So like
yeah,
doesn't necessarily have to be like, you don't have to like hire a coach, so to say, for a spotter. So let's say you're playing in like Singapore Open, Sarawak Open, all that.
definitely.
You don't have the money to hire your own personal coach down there to help you, right? But you have your friends and family, maybe like your spouse is traveling with you, your parents are traveling with you, all that. Then you can just ask your parents and your spouse help to be a spotter, lor, because they are there anyway, they're supporting you. And just ask them to, help me watch this lane, this pair of lanes.
Yeah,
Then what kind of balls they're using, what kind of lines, which area of the lane they're playing. Then that gives you valuable
yeah.
information.
The easiest I think with the mobile phones nowadays is just to use the phone, snap a video of what they're doing, and definitely the pair before them, because that pair before they might have been throwing a particular way, and which resulted in the last two, that last pair of bowlers that were using that lanes, and it forced them to bowl in a particular style to avoid what was created before.
That's a
So
good
that
tip. Yeah.
yeah, so I've been observing that, and so far so good. So even at Temasek Club when I bowl, and then like sometimes in the fun bowls, it's we shift every 2 or 3 games, and that really helps a lot.
So
Yeah,
your suggestion is to not only scout. Let's say next game I'm going over to lane that pair of lanes. So I don't just
yeah,
scout now. I scout even earlier.
yeah. So it depends on how many times there is the lane change. So if you there's only one lane change, then that's okay.
That's
Yeah,
true. Then
but
there's only
as we
that
do,
pair of bowlers bowling there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's really important. So like good thing when we bowl at Temasek Club locally, when we do the lane change, the good thing is that I really know those bowlers that are at probably lane 5 or 6, and maybe okay, I know. Oh, there's Charlie and someone else. Okay, these two bowlers I know them, so I will know. Okay, what is their line roughly, and then just need to take a peek over. Okay, are they striking on that their usual line? If not, then okay, what are they doing? That's it. Then quickly focus on your game. Otherwise, sometimes you get too distracted and you can't hit scores.
Yeah, yeah. There's a struggle for
Yeah.
not just me, like, I think a lot of other bowlers as well. It's
I,
something new.
yeah.
Yeah, they
I
have to
realize
learn.
this is very, very helpful, especially when we go overseas for tournaments, because we have limited balls, limited time, and definitely, like you said, limited manpower. So if we are not going under a national team and yet we still want to bowl well, that we would definitely want to have a spotter as much as possible.
Yeah, which is yeah, it's a struggle lah. That's why I'm suggesting like the ideas of just asking your spouse, relatives, whoever that's with you at the tournament. Uh,
Yeah.
Sometimes you're even just your fellow country mates, right? Because like, I
Mm,
went for Hong Kong Open like a few years back, 2000 like 16. I went with my roommate, and also we like I go with some league teammates. So we like contact beforehand. Are you going to Hong Kong Open this year? For example, like Coach Neo, he's going Hong Kong Open this year. So already we are two of us are friends there. Then obviously when we go there, most of us will go in different squads, right?
yeah.
For based on your hotel schedule, based on like the schedule of your family members, whoever you're traveling with, like maybe you travel with your spouse, then your spouse wants to like shop at this particular time, so you can only bowl at this particular time. And then for me,
Yeah.
I'm just happen to bowl in a different squad. Then I'll be there. Oh, okay. Today, then I'll be there like not bowling lah. I'll be behind Coach Neo, right? Then I'll be able to help him to be a spotter. Like then he can ask me, hey Charlie, help me to spot the tell me take video of like this pair of lanes, what they're doing, all that. So that automatically they become your assets to be able to help you. Just any friends that you can grab, your country mates and so on. Because normally, even if you don't really know like a lot of those fellow bowlers from your own country well, when you travel to an overseas tournament, right, it's very natural that bowlers of the
We'll gel
same
together.
country will gel together. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, SGP, oh yeah, yeah, SGO. So even though in Singapore you barely talk to each other, but because in overseas everybody is a stranger, so you just naturally want to like band together with your own country members. Then yeah, so you just make friends with them. Then yeah, you can get a lot of help there.
True. True. So then, especially like for this Sarawak Open, there is an interesting category, the Joker Squad. It's a 5-man team, and then they are bowling the Baker style.
Oh, so it's a team
So it's
event. Oh,
there's the team event and there is the individuals, just the two events.
does everybody have to play the Joker squad?
No, no, no. It's just if you so there's a team of 5, so you can't bring 5 person unless there is 5.
Oh, so it's a random group of five.
No, you can register a team of 5,
Mm.
or you can just play your normal the usual regular individuals.
Oh, but as in, if I, for example, I go there alone, right?
Ah,
Then
then you can only go in
the individuals I don't bowl the Joker squad lah.
yeah.
Oh, so the Joker squad is another registration now. Which, for example, if just happen that we go there as a team of five, then get okay, let's try the Joker squad together as well because we got a good chance of winning lah. For example, if we got
So it's all
pre-arranged team and all that.
pre-registration. There is like all the open division, the classified division. I would say that would be our graded division, and then the under U25. Yeah. So these three plus the Joker squad. It's actually is I don't know why they call it a Joker squad though, but it's actually just a team. Is actually the team category.
It's a Baker's
But they
team category.
yeah,
I
but
see
they
on
call it as
the
the
they
Joker
call it
squad.
Joker Squad. I see on the rules and regulation 2 games only. Is it? It says
Let's
two
see.
games,
Biggest format,
two
team
hundred
of 5,
ringgit.
6
Yeah.
games.
Oh, okay, got 6 games.
Yeah, limited to 38 teams only.
Oh, okay. Maybe I cannot see where it is in the rules and regulations.
It
It's
should be
okay.
2 games every per lane per pair. So there may be
Okay,
three
okay.
three lane chips.
Oh, okay. Then because it's 5-man baker, so one person only bowl like 2 frames.
Yeah. Okay. And down here, then it says the Joker squad will consist of 2 games. If the games in the Joker squad is higher, they will replace the lower games of that day's Masters qualifying.
Ooh,
No idea what they
also
are
no
trying
idea
to
what
say.
it means. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But then
anyway, yeah, let's take it as
it
6 games.
says the Joker squad 6 games. So yeah. So
Hmm.
then yeah, this Sarawak Open, I think they put up their oiling. It's a quite an interesting mid length oiling pattern.
Yeah, I was going to say similar to the Singapore Open one that I took a look at because it's middle
The
distance,
current
43 feet.
Singapore Open.
Yeah, the upcoming Singapore Open one, but the volume
Upcoming one,
is
I would
upcoming.
say the length is slightly similar, 43 and 42,
Hmm.
but I would say it's miles apart because of the oil volume.
Yeah, basically, I was going to say the difference is the oil volume because the
Yeah.
current one will be 33 volume total, then this one is only 27 milliliters volume total. But I mean, shape wise, obviously, it's very different as well. If I were to load up the Singapore Open one,
Yeah. The
uh,
shape and length is slightly different, but the key thing is both are almost spotting a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2-to-1 is very difficult.
2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, the oiling. So like most of the spot patterns are 2-to-1. Some
Mm.
are if it's 1-to-1, that will be worse, man.
Oh, but when it says the on the Sarawak Open oiling, it says the middle outside track is 4.05.
Uh,
It's only the middle track is 2.01 only. Right?
No, so I'm just looking at the forward oil versus the reverse oil.
Forward oil versus the reverse oil. Where do you see that comparison?
That's the oiling pattern right at the top.
Forward oil total, reverse oil total.
Yes,
Oh, so 18.37 versus
18,
9.36.
18 versus 9. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. It's
Mm.
quite challenging.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Two
So I
to
I did.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you mean this ratio would differentiate because like on the pattern itself, the like you explained to me before, the forward will be the lighter colors, right? And then the reverse will be the darker blue colors. So the forward one will be but then it won't be 2-to-1, but
Forward forward will be by right will be the greenish color. The
uh-huh.
reverse is the medium bluish color, and
And
then
the
the darkest blue will be the
the
combined.
combined dark blue.
Yeah.
But what I'm curious is the because actually won't the reverse be combined also? Because when the machine moves forward, right, it already lays down forward oil, right? And
Yeah.
then on the way when it comes back, it's gonna lay down reverse. Then
Yeah. So
when
that's why
it,
it will combine overlap.
but like on the chart itself, right, when it shows the reverse and the combine, it's not the same more.
It
So
looks the same.
yeah,
To me.
it's not the same. Like the for example, if a Sarawak International Open oiling, right? Like the
Mm.
combined oil is right in the center, the darkest blue. The
Yeah.
reverse oil is slightly bigger area outside of the combined oil, which is why I'm
Ah.
quite confused. Like, isn't when you apply reverse oil, isn't it already combining with the forward oil because forward oil is already applied beforehand, right?
So then that would mean that at that area there's no forward oil.
Ah, okay, okay. So
Yeah.
the machine only lays down forward oil in the
The
light,
middle portion.
the light colored area lah, the light blue area. Then
The greenish is the turquoise green area, which in this picture here
picture here I only
is very
see like
minimal.
light blue leh, or light purple lah, so
Yeah.
to say. I don't see the greenish one.
Yeah.
But I think that's what they mean lah. That means the light ones are the forward oil. So the
Yeah.
machine only lay forward oil in that area when it goes forward, and it doesn't lay any forward oil in the reverse section. But it also
Mm.
lays forward oil in the combine section. So it lays combine and forward when the machine moves forward. Then when the machine comes back, then it only puts down oil in both the reverse and the combine area. So which is
Yeah.
why the combined area you will have in this case, Sarawak Open will be 18 plus 9 lah. So it'll be
Yes.
the total lah
27.
27.
Yeah.
And then
Just below 20
in the reverse oil area, we will have 9.6.
9.6 mils.
Oh, then isn't it become like
Thicker.
thicker, and then suddenly less oil, and then
Yeah.
suddenly becomes slightly more oil?
Mm. So that's why it's quite an interesting oiling pattern, and that's why all these are the spot patterns, which
Oh,
I've been, as in, we've been putting these patterns up for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, it's quite challenging, I would say. Yeah,
oh,
but when we put the balls down, lay those balls down against the Singapore Open pattern, it's totally different game.
okay, okay. So when you
Yeah.
try it out, the reaction is totally different.
Mm. Yeah. Plus this Sarawak Open's oiling is supposed to be the Kegel oiling, but Singapore Open they are using a combination of fire and ice.
Oh, but isn't Kiga the ones that come out with fire and ice anyway? So
So there's like different brands in it, different sub brands, sub oiling oil.
yeah, so basically they only Sarawak Open, they only say Kegel, but they never say whether it's fire, ice, or like terrain or anything.
Yeah. So they might use terrain if they budget is an
Oh,
issue. I don't know.
so it's up to them.
Yeah.
So that will
Or
change.
at least it's not. It might not. It's not stated here lah, but the bowlers they might want to check it out.
Yeah, now I just noticed that I mean the Singapore International Open one, they also never say, but they just say Tank A conditioner current, Tank B conditioner current, or is
Yeah,
current the
but
name of the
yeah.
oil?
No. That's just current. But apparently, I'm not sure why is it stated like this. But on the file that I saw, it says fire and ice.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So the one that I see right now on the uh ABF website lah, and at least is
Yeah.
it just says
And it
current,
just
or
says
maybe it's
current.
the ABF website. Okay, let me go to the Singapore Bowling Federation website. It might be different because maybe the ABF website one is not updated. Let me check SBF website. Bowling pattern. Also same leh. It just says
Mm.
current, even on the SBF website itself. So it doesn't really tell me whether it's fire and ice.
Yeah.
Okay. Then so that will make the reaction very different also if they are using
Yeah.
different conditioners there.
Mm. Definitely. And
Hmm.
it'll be interesting because as the oil breaks down due to the different styles of bowlers, wow, it's really amazing.
Yeah. So let's say if I were to bowl at the Sarawak International Open, because
Yeah.
I mean I'm looking at the oil ratio 1:4 just based on the oil ratio. That means center is 4 times is to the outside.
Yeah.
Volume oil total 27. This seems like quite a typical sport pattern. 27. Transition is going to be as fast as a normal sport pattern, I guess.
Yeah.
Then since it is, but 27 is also slightly on the thicker side because the thinner ones will be like 25, right, to 22.
Mm. Yeah.
So 27 is still considered a little bit thick. So I'll probably still use a solid reactive ball to start. Then because it's 43 feet, I'll probably also still play in a very standard area. That means about 7 to 13 will be the break point, and then I'll send my balls crossing the arrow anywhere from like between like 15 to 10 at the arrows to get to the desired break point. Depends on I think whether you're a bowler that hooks a little bit more, then you just start a little bit deeper. If you're a bowler that goes a bit straighter, you can just start with like probably like 10-10 or 7-7, and then you can just adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
Like
I would
what would
say
you think?
the arrow laydown, I would suggest to play within like I I would probably really suggest if the bowlers are good enough between 10 to 15 or 10 to 14 on the arrows. So that will be about second to two and a half.
Yeah, at the arrow zone.
Yeah, at the arrows. Then
Then
after that,
breakpoint is
the
still
break
about
point,
10.
that's normal, no issues. You can even go all the way until 7. It'll be fine because
Oh,
the oiling there is just it's not too. So because we got to always remember everyone has a different break point, but
yeah,
it's
it's true.
usually between 40 to 45. So, but most bowlers are about 42, 40 to 42. So then, like, yeah, so if it's 42, for example, or 43, then they would just nice clear the oil or reach the end of the oiling pattern, which is actually okay. But I've seen, so based on the students that I've been coaching and how their balls react, right? Uh, I would say within the first, by the end of the first hour, the oiling has dried up.
I mean, for that particular line, they will have to shift already, right?
Yeah. So I went down on the lanes. I like, take a measurement, look at the amount of oil that has carried down this and that. It goes down quite a fair bit. But then the amount of yeah, I've seen most success when they get the ball to about 7 pot. Yeah. Then the ball comes in strong.
7 board
Those
at the
that
breakpoint.
try those that played a straighter outside line, they were struggling, but they were using that as a fresh. Then after that, they transit in together, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean those that play the outside line, yeah, they will struggle on the fresh, because
Yeah.
generally like middle distance patterns will favor playing towards the like diagonal inside out a little bit more, right?
Zone 2
Normally,
to zone 1.
yeah, you saying
The second zone to the first zone, that direction.
second zone to first zone. What do you mean by second zone to first zone? Sorry.
So playing the middle part of the lanes, about 15 to 25,
Uh huh.
that direction outwards towards the right,
Uh huh.
towards like the 1 to 10 pot, 1 to 15 pot area. So just throwing it out, swing it out, and then it holds and it will just hook in nicely. So I would say this is quite the pattern wise is not the most difficult one, but the you will have to react fast on the transition.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
for this Sarawak Opens pattern.
Because of
So
the oil volume.
yeah, I would say it's you wouldn't want to bring super strong balls or those balls that are NEX balls
Or
or those balls companies.
NEX meaning the Roto cover stock
The
balls?
nano, the Storm Nano Extreme, those balls.
Oh,
Well, those balls those reactive balls that basically suck up the oil very, very fast. You wouldn't want those balls.
okay.
I would actually use those balls on the transition.
Yeah, when you like shift in, right?
Yeah,
Later in the transition, when you shift in, whether combined oil, as you see on the chart, is a little bit thicker, and then you can start using those really,
yeah,
they call it very absorbent cover stocks. They absorb,
yes.
those cover stocks that
Yeah.
absorb a lot of oil.
Mm.
But if you're using cover stocks that absorb a lot of oil, wouldn't you also, like as you mentioned, like speed up the transition also? Or
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's really
But
what you want. You
yeah,
want to speed up transition.
because when you bowl in an open lane where you wouldn't know who has bowled before you, then or even if you know what they have been doing before you, unless you can follow their oil track perfectly so that you can transit a parallel shift down. Otherwise, you will want to use one or two shots to really, rev up your line to make sure that okay, this particular line is still doable. Then after that, you can switch out into a slap. You can step down into maybe like a phase two or a hustle.
Okay, so I think this is what you mentioned before, right? Just like on the lead shot, you go and create your own line,
Yes,
because like when you're
entirely right.
totally flat oil, fresh, you don't know who has bowled before. Then I'm just going to use a ball with a very absorbent cover stock, roll it down maybe whichever, maybe like let's say 15-10, just example. I roll it down 15-10, and then I'm going to create my own line on 15-10, and then I'm going to shift in after my 15-10, because I know that okay, I already throw quite a few shots on that line. It's
Mm.
already defined. I've absorbed some oil of it, then I'm now gonna shift inside
Yeah.
of it.
So you actually realize that actually most of our viewers, they will also agree that when you bowl alone on a pair of fresh lanes versus sharing a lane even with your friend um, on a pair of fresh lanes, it reacts totally different because there is still some overlapping of oiling. So that's why ball, you need to really understand how to use or what balls to use. Why do you use a solid ball versus a shiny pearl ball, for example?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the solid balls should define your track, burn your own track on the lane, and also have a smoother motion, a more predictable smoother motion.
Yeah.
And then later in the blocks, when you move shift further in, then you can go
Mm.
to your like shine balls. But
Yeah.
then again, if you're going to your shine balls, it's also you need to have that earlier track burn in on the right first. If you're right hander lah,
Mm.
because if you don't
Yeah.
have that, then your shine balls when you send it out, it's gonna miss the break point. So you need to
Yeah.
have that burn-in area on the right before you go and
True.
transition to your shine ball. Then you can find that your shine balls are so-called playable. Yeah, that's
Yes.
also what I
And
struggled with on my last league outing because I brought
ah,
two shine balls. So I totally
okay.
forgot about that lane condition. It's been a while since I bought there. So I just thought that I just brought three balls lah, because I took public transport to bus. So I
Ah,
just brought like two of my shine balls, and partially also because I was struggling with the ball reaction of my own dowel ball, because my own dowel ball doesn't turn the corner too well. It's too much of an older core. Then I find that I have to like do a lot with my hand in order just to make the ball turn, which is it's currently not what I want to do with my game lah, because it makes it very inconsistent. So I don't want to turn my hand so much. I don't want to manipulate the ball so much, which is why I didn't bring that ball. So I was like really struggling with that because since I have no burn-in area and I didn't burn any of the right part of the lane, then when I go and use my shine ball, when I throw, my shine ball will be very over under, so to say. So over
yeah.
under meaning like sometimes it will hook, then most of the time it doesn't hook. So it will just skip past the mid zone, and then it skids further, and then it will not hook in at all, or it just hooks in a bit too late, so then it doesn't hit the pocket. Then it leaves a nasty split, a washout, so to say, because it doesn't hit the pocket. Then the bowler will take the same ball, and then it will try to like shift further in. Then when you shift further in, you throw, then you will hit like the back end, and the ball will overhook because it's a shine ball, but so it's snappy. Then you suddenly you're a track right, because if you go to the right, the ball doesn't hook in, but when you go further in, your ball will overhook. So it's kind of like a trap lah, so to say. When you use shine balls and you don't have a very defined burning area, that's where you find that shine balls are like terrible and so over under unplayable.
Yeah. Especially when you didn't bring the Abralon pads or
Yeah, yeah. I
any
also didn't bring the
pads to
airborne
face the
pads. Yeah,
ball.
I just
Yeah.
because I have two separate bags and I left them in the other bag, so I just
Ah,
didn't bring them.
yeah. So that's something I realized when we have pearl balls and we didn't prep the surface prior or not able to do it on hand or on yeah. So just have to take note on that. Then next time, yeah, just bring put a 1,000 pad in every single bag.
Yeah, I think that's one of my mistakes that I hope the audience learns is that because my earlier so-called the before I went to bowl, I already had a game plan in mind, right, which is to bring shine balls. So it turns
Yeah.
out that the game plan was totally off. I totally forgot about the oiling, what the oiling was about. So then when your game plan is totally off, you need to have some kind of backup, like have some Aeron pads at least
Yeah.
in your bag so that you can adjust the surface. Yeah,
Yeah.
because actually in the end the surface is still the most important
Yes.
aspect of bowling actually, which a lot of people actually I think especially league bowlers maybe don't. I think league bowlers still understand, but maybe like the non-league bowlers, if you are like
Yeah.
casually, if you're a bowler that doesn't even play league, doesn't play much competitive tournaments, you just play like normally on a house shot, then you
Balls.
don't, yeah, you don't really understand the importance of surface preparation. So actually, surface is still the number one most important thing when it comes to like
Yes.
trying to get scores actually, or even just getting your ball to hit the pocket is actually one
Yeah.
of the most important thing.
That's why when you see that even days that I go for our leagues, I'm usually bringing 4 balls, and all 4 balls are all prepped with different surface. I will have one ball that is super shiny at 5,005. Yeah, then all the way down until 500.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you already have a pre-prep surface, and so you have a range lah. So you brought a whole
yeah.
range in advance.
The only thing that can affect my game will be myself or the weather.
Yeah, because your sometimes decisions and all that. But anyway, yeah, let's move on to the next one. I wanted to talk about the Singapore Open oiling before we
Yeah,
wrap up.
the
So
Singapore Open oiling is something that I think our viewers can take away. I'm not sure how many are going to register for this, but I would really hope that more people will register for the Singapore Open. Go for this. It poses something super challenging, and in part of the rules and regulations also, because the new rule says that you are not allowed to do any ball surface changes. So yeah, until your warm up, so you can only adjust your ball surface by the until during your warm ups. So once the warm up is done, that's it. No more, no more ball prep.
yep, and I think this is like a new trend. I heard from another fellow coach that it started in PBA. Then
Yes,
from PBA, they actually brought it into I think the World Bowling Games or something like that. I'm not too sure which international bowling tournament they started it with. And then now it's actually in the last recently seen is the Thai Open. In Thai Open, they adopted this rule as well. And then now
yes,
Singapore Open, they adopt this rule. So I think moving forward, all the big tournaments are in Asia or worldwide will
yeah,
probably be adopting this rule. It's going to be a new trend moving forward.
yeah. So this is something that will really make the viewers appreciate, and also to prep a few more balls. So like especially those that are not able to bring a big arsenal to the competition, because if you realize that the elite bowlers, they will definitely be there with like three bags. So that is nine balls. So nine balls they can have, for example, um, three different kinds of balls, and every one of the balls they can have three different surfaces, all being pre-prepped. But for normal bowlers that don't have that luxury, or that then you will really have to plan your game.
Yep. I think
Mm.
that time I went, I did a stream on it. Yeah, I did a recording where I talked about it. Also, I was saying like if there's like six balls, if you're limited to six balls, what you can do, and if you're limited to like three balls, then what you can do and stuff like that. Then I think
Yeah,
generally speaking, for the Singapore Open, I mean, for no viewers who are not totally just seeing this condition, this oiling for the first time, I think
yeah,
it's very similar to the Sarawak Open oiling, 42 feet, but the big
yeah,
difference is the oil volumes, which is a lot thicker. Even though it
yeah.
says 33.6, right, compared to Sarawak's opens, I think 27. In reality, when you actually bowl, it's gonna feel a lot thicker. The transition
Yeah.
is gonna be slower because just generally there's more oil for you to break down,
Mm.
and it will sort of like be slower than so if you're playing the Sarawak Open oiling, you're gonna transition earlier. You need to like maybe after five shots you have to shift. But then the Singapore Open, maybe your line will last you for like seven or maybe even 10 shots because there's just
Yeah.
a higher volume of oil. So you see bowlers be able to stay in the same area longer, and there'll be less chance of people like lofting the gutter, so to say, on the third on the final squad of MQ. I mean, there'll still be bowlers doing that lah, because just depends on their ref rate and their ball speed, but and their entry angle and all that. But there'll be less just because of higher volume of oil. But
I
because of
would
that, yeah. Sorry, you say first.
so when it comes to the lofting part, right? I would really, as in, I would foresee some bowlers lofting the ball, because especially those that are of a higher ref rate and they like to play the inside line. Because if you look at the oiling pattern, right? So if you are playing an inside line, laying down the ball at the fifth dot, the fifth arrow, you're going to the ball is going to stay in the oil. It's going to swim in that oil all the way until the 30 halfway down the lanes before it gets out of there. And once it gets out, it's still on the oiling. So I would foresee some of them trying to loft that ball with a more of like a solid ball, and then to avoid the front portion of that thick oil just to clear that, then the ball will start to react. So that might happen. But based on the simply the last couple trainings that we have been testing this oiling on, those there were some students that I didn't. I would say that their throw is more of a house bowler release, and on more like a stroker. Then they came to me. They said, "This is a bad oiling pattern. I can't hit my hand. I can't hit it hard. I can only release." And
Isn't
then
that very
when
good? By right, it's supposed to be good.
yes. So it's as in for a stroker like those boys, and they will play. I got them to play they tried their favorite line, so it's like their benchmark, their feel good line. They release the ball down 10-10, then without doing much, just lifting it up, the ball went in, perfect pocket. But then the moment they start to hit it a little, the ball skids just that one rep, just one bit longer, 1 second longer. There's no it goes beyond the point of return. It doesn't come back. And
Yep.
especially once the ball start to transit, because those boys during the training, some of them they don't even surface the ball again. So when they
Ah.
don't surface the ball and they start to move transit in, you see the balls just go out and it does not return.
Yep. Because of the
So
thicker, the higher volume of oil.
yeah,
Yeah. So when there's high volume, if you go and heat it up, so I think the misconception with the house bowlers is that because house bowlers, since we bowl on house oil, right, outside is dry. When you heat it up more, you try and rev it up or turn it more, right? Yes, your ball will hook more because actually when you heat it up more, you create a little bit more axis rotation. But
yeah,
because when you hit the dry, obviously your ball will react to the axis rotation. But in
mm,
the Singapore Open oiling, because it's so thick, it's 33
yeah,
milliliters, right? If you're doing the same thing, right? If you hit it sideways, you hit up stronger, you're creating more side rotation. So what happens is that the side rotation will make your ball skid rather than
yeah,
hook. So your ball is going to actually go longer rather than hook earlier, which is contrary to what most people understand. Most people think that, oh, so I want it to roll earlier, then I heat up more lor. But the problem is that in this kind of sport patterns where stick bowler or you heat up more, it skids longer. You make it like
yeah,
it's like a drift lah. You make the like your ball drift lor,
yeah,
just like Tokyo drift like that. Yeah, so your
yeah.
car will do drift like initially.
Yeah. So this is something interesting. I've been working on this pattern for a couple of weeks now. Wow, you really need to prep your balls, and I would be really like we mentioned the other time. So really foresee a lot of people bringing strong reactive balls down these lanes and to really mat down the ball surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that I would foresee quite a bit, and this is a oiling that would um would eliminate the European bowlers.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think initially earlier you mentioned that you would try the purple hammer, but my
Mm,
opinion was that it would the oil would be too thick for urethane to
yeah,
really. I mean, yeah lah, I can lah. If I take my urethane ball then I send down 320 grit, it will still grip the lane lah because it's 320
yeah.
grit. But I
So
just yeah.
I would say it depends on what area you would like to play with. So if you are to for example use the ball and play that the zone 2, that thick oil area, then the urethane ball will just be swimming. But then if you are playing on a little bit more, you are able to get the ball further right to play the outside line. Like for example, one of the very famous PBA bowler Darren Tang, when he plays
Mm,
league, when he films his YouTube videos, he's always inside. It's always go from inside, all the ball hooks all entire lane and hooks back in. It's very look good kind of thing. So it looks good on video, it looks good on YouTube. But then when you see him bowl in the PBA regionals or any other titles, he's always playing the outside line.
yeah, like five
Always playing
five.
the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5-7, using his pitch black
Mm,
and stuff like that. So you would really, and he will still play the urethane ball where others are going for strong reactives, but he will still be outside there. And that is something, if you are able to keep your hands consistent, you can release that ball down. you'll be able to play the outside line. So probably next week I'm gonna head down to Temasek Club also, and over there they have already set the oil for public to use to come and try and train. So I would go down to yeah,
Yeah,
and
that would be a
actually
good time to experiment.
I will bring my UC3 and pitch black. No, sorry, UC3 and
Purple hammer.
purple hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the difference on these two balls, and definitely a couple of those reactive balls.
Yeah, but in general, I think for this kind of Singapore Open oiling, when we
Mm,
talk about like prepping the balls in advance, because it's 33 milliliters of
yeah,
oil, right? So I would suggest like bowlers bring a range of reactive balls. So let's say if you have six, right, then your first
mm,
ball will probably be like an asymmetrical ball, asymmetrical reactive, which then you probably want to send at least like 500 grit, right, for a start.
yes,
Then you want to play your benchmark line, which are like Coach Neo says, if you are now a stroker type of bowler, then you want to play 10-10, or if you want to play 7-7. If you're a little bit more ref rate, then maybe that 12-10, 11-10 kind of line, just on the is that considered zone 2? You're saying that
come again. What
like
line
if
again?
you're playing like 11-10, 10-10, is it considered zone 2 in your,
Zone one. I would say that's still zone
or
one.
that's still considered zone 1? So your zone 1 is like from board 5 to board 10.
From the first board all the way until about 15.
Oh, that one is zone 1. Oh, so your zone 2 is from 15 then to like
To
25 lah.
25, 20, 25, yeah, about there. Then the rest will be
Ah,
the
then
zone 3.
then zone 3 will be very deep already lah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that is how you define the zone. Yeah, yeah. So that's still considered the zone. Yeah. So that's the zone 1 will be the natural area lah, which most bowlers will actually bowl. Yeah. So you want to start with a very rough grip ball. So take note that as you bowl, right, your rough grip ball will become lane shine, because since you're not allowed to resurface your ball in between the frames, right? After game 1, right, your 500 grip bowling ball is gonna become shine to like 1,000 or maybe even 1,002 after one game.
Yeah.
That's I think from videos from like Ron Hicklin, who recently did a
Yeah.
seminar in Singapore. He shows like he asked one of his elite bowlers, his staff, to just throw the ball 500 grit, and then after one, like not even one game, I think like 4 or 5 shots, then
Mm.
the ball surface already has a shine up to like 1,000, 1,002,
Yeah.
sometimes even 1,005. So take
Yeah.
note that your ball track will be shined up as you bowl the first game, and then with your second game you want to transition to maybe second or third game. If you're in transition to a ball with like you already prep maybe like 1,000 surface or 1,005, and then if you are like further in you need another transition, then you want another ball which is like still sanded probably like 2,000,
Mm.
yeah, and so on. Then so you still want to stick with sanded balls. So the only time you want to use like shine balls will be like if you're playing the burn block, because it's MQ styles. So there's like three. The squads wise, let me check
Yeah.
the
There'll be quite a number of
squads.
squads.
Yeah, quite a
But
number of
I would,
squads.
yeah. While you're checking on that, I would suggest for our bowlers to bring two asim balls. So one with a duller surface, one with a slightly shinier surface. So then then the rest will be symmetrical balls.
Yeah.
Mm.
So at least two. So for example, so if you have 6 ball, then will be 2 A sim, then will be 3 sim, and
For
then one spare ball. Lor.
three, yeah, the spare ball can be a normal polyester spare or a urethane spare
Yeah.
ball.
If you're able to use
Mm.
urethane to a spare, then that frees up one slot in your 6 ball arsenal. So there will
Yeah.
be like 2 A sim reactive balls and then 3 symmetrical reactive balls, then one
Yeah.
urethane or spare ball. Then if
Yeah.
you're like or you can, how should I say, the earlier I was thinking of like two asim reactive balls, then the symmetrical balls, maybe at least two symmetrical reactive balls, then or like one symmetrical reactive and then one symmetrical probably hybrid, and then the last slot maybe one symmetrical per ball if you are
Yeah.
planning to play on the burn. But if you're not
Yeah.
planning to play on the burn, then maybe one urethane, then the last one will be like a spare ball. That's like a standard 6 ball arsenal. Yeah. So
I realized something nice about using the urethanes to do spares is that recently So apart from my UC3, I've been able to pick up spares using the Purple Hammer, Peach Purple, basically the entire Peach series from Storm. Peach Purple, I'm sorry, a Purple Hammer, the the MCP from Blue Tank from Motif.
Mm.
Yeah, all the rest of the balls you are able to pick up spares with it to hook a little and just to get the ball down past that center arrow to pin 10. Whereas the UC3 will be slightly harder because of the asim cores, then it will still flip a little.
Yeah. So the once you're used to the reaction of like a urethane ball for throwing
Yeah,
straight lah, then you'll
yeah,
find that it's actually quite predictable, right? Because
yeah,
it will go straight and then you start to it hooks a little bit like in
yes,
mid lane, but once it hooks that little bit, it will stay there. So you will stay and set, and then you will go straight
yeah,
again. So it's
yeah,
quite predictable path for sparring also.
yeah. So then you managed to find the blocks in for 50 the Singapore Open.
Yeah, so I mean there are three blocks. For example, if you're playing the morning one, then you only have like 9 to 10, because I think the morning MQ block will be the smallest, the least people, because it's very early in the morning. Then the rest of it is always 1.5 hour blocks, like the second and
Yeah,
third block. So I think you only bring like a shine ball or pearl ball if you're planning to play on the third block. But if not, if you're playing in the first two blocks, right, then just bring solid or hybrid balls all the way, and then
the
one urethane.
if you have space, I think a shine ball is still necessary because for bowlers like me that don't like to shift too deep when it comes to competitive play, I like to well for house oiling. I would shift in, starting the zone 2. I usually end up at 35 or 40th board. But when it comes to serious play, I usually do about a maximum of 3 board shift from where I stand. So the 3 board shift comes when during the transition, but when it comes back to when it gets burned, I will move back to my original starting position. So that's where uh, uh, a pearl ball, for example, it works very well.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's depending on your strategy. But I agree with you. Like sometimes you just want to stay in the same area, right? To be
yeah,
consistent. So rather than going deeper left, you just want to go
yeah,
back to the right. And then in that
yeah,
case, to stay on the same line, then you use a lot much weaker ball, which is like a
yeah,
pearl symmetrical ball that goes
yeah,
longer. Then you can
yeah.
stay on the same line that you originally started.
Yes, this is very I think everyone can relate to this, especially now with the advancement of the balls. So we when we are able to even just a basic 3 ball back, take forgo the spare ball. So we go for a sim ball and then a mid game ball, the transition ball, and then the burn ball. So you have 3 basic balls in your arsenal. By right, you shouldn't need to make too big of a shift unless it's just like house oiling where there's very little oil to share around. That's where moving further in is not going to affect the line too much but when you play a sport pattern or like in a Singapore Open pattern, right, the further you move in, that means you're going to cross even more bowlers lines, all the tracks that they create now, and to have even to switch up to a stronger ball. And if you are unable, you don't have enough ref to clear all the wet dry, then you're just going to find yourself struggling with tons of Greek church, big four, all the nasty splits. So but if you are able to keep that target line small, that particular range area, so then just by switching up your equipment, you will be able to you will tend to avoid a lot of other people's lines. And but even if you meet everyone at that same breakpoint there, you are clearing lesser oil tracks. So this might be bowled by 5 bowlers, but as compared to the entire lane that you are, if you try to, you are going to play like 10 bowlers or even 20 bowlers that are track or putting the track over. So
Yeah,
keeping it
that's a
tight would
good
be
point.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good point. Which is, I think, one of the reasons why you see like PBA bowlers when they shift left, sometimes they really go really deep left, and then they loft
Yes.
the gutter because they want to like avoid everybody's line. Like
Yes.
Belmo, why he
Yeah.
goes so left is because he just gets
Wants to
sick and
avoid
tired
everyone.
of like playing other people's transition. He just wants a fresh part of the lane for himself. Then he just goes so
Yeah.
left that nobody can follow his line. Then
Yeah.
then he just has all that area to himself, lor. Then yeah, so
Mm.
this is then obviously the other bowlers, they have learned that from him as well. And they're like, oh, I just want to avoid all that traffic, all that transition. Just go super deep left, and then just find a fresh part of the lane that nobody has touched before, and then I just loft,
Yeah.
lor. I just loft and throw my shot there.
Yeah. So, but you got to remember is that not everyone can do lofting, and at the same time, if we were to move super left, we are going to take a gamble on the shots. So that's why you see sometimes some on good days definitely Balmo and all the other bowlers, they will progress, but if they get caught up in just in that nosedive area, then they're going to get stuck, and you see that they can't hit a decent good score because of that angle. So if they and you but you seldom see two-handers play the outside the zone 1 because of the rev rate. That rev is just going to affect them. It's too much rev. Yeah. So end up you see sometimes even they use spare balls to play. Even
Yeah.
Balmo, he uses the fast pitch. The blue fast pitch is one of his go-to balls. For him, Caltru and a couple other bowlers, they're all using fast pitch because of the low RG. I said the higher RG.
So
Yeah.
there's a ball that they will go to, like, if there's really
Yeah.
no room for them to play.
Especially for this Singapore Open, fast pitch would be a ball that I might prep in my 6 ball arsenal if I were to play it.
What kind of surface will you put in your fast pitch?
I would start it off with 1,000 actually.
Just 1,000, so nothing too rough, lah.
Yeah, because it will not come out too early. That ball will only be towards the later block. Yeah, so there's no need to really use it too much. I've played the ball with like a 4,000 surface, or the so-called the lane shine, as what Ron Hicklin mentioned, is actually the ball return shine.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Ball return shine.
Yeah, so it's the ball is amazing. I love that ball. I would feel it gives me way more control than the purple hammer. But the purple hammer recovers a bit stronger than the fast pitch.
Yeah, they designed that way as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So anything else to add before we wrap it up so that we can keep today's session short?
And not really, but I really hope there will be more people registering for the Singapore Opens. Not that although we are Singaporeans, but like this is really a good tournament to try it out. For those that wants to get some international star appearances, to meet up some of the stars from even just from our nearby Malaysia and a couple others. There's quite a number of really good bowlers. The PWBA bowlers, they will be here too. So yeah, and I heard this time round there will be a couple of stars also coming down, and the top prize is like the cash prizes over 190,000
Oh,
to
in
be
total?
divided over almost 200K divided over all the entire all the different categories. So it'll be good.
I haven't really checked the prize pool, but what kind of big names have you already heard that might be coming down?
Simo,
Oh, Simonson is coming down. Okay.
but I hope they are really coming down though. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's rumored lah. So I mean, we will know for sure. Female side,
Yeah.
any big names that you heard might be coming down?
No, not too sure right now because I didn't really ask around yet, but I heard that there'll be a number of people coming down.
But
Yeah,
usually
because
on the male side, on the male bowler side, there's usually at least one male PBA bowler.
Yeah.
Typically speaking, I think is Storm will kind of Storm or maybe another of the ball companies will kind of like subsidize their trip down. Because it's for promoting their ball and so on, and usually they will have arrangements with the Singapore coaches and so on that they can do like a clinic, either a drilling clinic or like a ball clinic or maybe something like a technical skills clinic. And then there's one way, business wise lah, there's one way they actually recover all their travel expenses, because that one single clinic they earn like a 5-figure sum from all their clinics, so all their travel expenses already covered. So
Yeah.
yeah, usually at least you will see one of the male PBA stars. PWBA, probably the lack of funding, so maybe they might not be coming down. So
No
we will see how.
PWBA, even our national girls, they are in the PWBA. So even like from Malaysia themselves, they have a couple of the bowlers that are in PWBA. So yeah, they will all still be coming down. Probably not representing PW, but might be representing their own country. So yeah,
Yeah, local stars wise, definitely. So all the bowlers from Korea all the way to Taiwan, Malaysia, all Southeast Asia
Thailand.
bowlers, yeah, Asian
Yeah,
bowlers, you definitely see a big representation in the
yeah.
Singapore Open. Singapore has always
Ryan,
been,
yeah,
yeah, Ryan Lalisang, all that, all the
yeah,
big Asian names,
yeah,
definitely you will see them
yeah.
because
Jojo,
Singapore Open is the highest prize pool tournament in
yeah,
Asia. So then you like
yeah,
they are all gunning for it. They all for sure it will come. Just like on
yeah,
the
man.
western side, maybe a select few will come.
Yeah, 25,000 for the men's category.
Hmm. The biggest one
Yeah,
was when Simonson won it, 50K. That was the many
yeah,
years ago.
that was.
Yeah, that was the biggest one. But 25,000 is still pretty good USD, right? 25,000.
Yeah, and then for the
Yeah,
perfect game
it's
is
quite
ten
big.
thousand dollars.
Yeah, which is shared, right?
Yes, a shared 10,000.
Yeah. So just with this 25,000 is equivalent to a PBA, bigger than some PBA titles. I think some PBA titles only offer like 10K USD. So which
Yeah,
is why it'll be a good incentive for like the PBA stars to actually come down because the price pool is good enough.
yeah. Mm,
Okay, then if that's it, then we will end up for
yeah,
this podcast. Thank you very much, Coach Neil, for joining, and then
no
hopefully we
problem.
can get another one scheduled in 2 to 3 weeks time, and yeah, hopefully we try and make this more regular. Thank you guys for watching. We will hopefully see you guys at the Singapore Open, and yeah, see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.